Scary stories are best told in the dark, people say. Some diplomats in the foreign ministry, however, are happy to recall their ghastly experience at any time. In addition to dealing with Indonesian foreign policy, they sometimes experience eerie moments that give an ominous tinge to their job representing Indonesia overseas. I'm Apriza Pinandita, and this is my report. Stories from haunted Indonesian missions abroad. File number 1. The apparition of a deceased Indonesian worker in Singapore. Dumas Radityo, a diplomat at the Foreign Ministry, still vividly remembers that day when he was awake all night on duty, handling a case of suicide involving an Indonesian worker.
She was a domestic helper. She committed suicide jumping from 12th or 13th floor in the apartment in SDB, apartment housing, social apartment housing in Choa Chu Kang. It's in Singapore, it's in the suburb area. And somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning, I went there to pick up the body. And somewhere around 9 o'clock in the morning as well, I went to the mortuary to have the visum et repertum. Because the embassy have to represent the family as the next of kin. That's a standard procedure, standard practice that we have to do, to report back to the family. And then pretty much I worked until late night at the time, 10 o'clock. And after finishing up all the duty for the day, call off the day, I went back to my apartment. It was in Grange Road. Grange Road is near to Chatsworth Road, to which our embassy located in Singapore. It's only 500 meters away.
After finishing all his tasks, Dumas recalled, he went back to his apartment near Chatsworth Road where the Indonesian embassy was located.
It was an old building. I tried to sleep off the day because I pretty much quite tired. And half asleep, the women, the victim, went into my room with a pretty much blood splattered over the face, and I am pretty much sure it was her. Because I saw exactly. I pick up the body, bring up to the ambulance, going to the mortuary, doing stuff like that. Of course, pretty much I know. I can identify. It is her. It was her. She literally said like this in bahasa Indonesia. Pak, saya capek. Saya sudah divisum. Well, she didn't say divisum. Saya sudah diperiksa dokter. Tolong saya segera dipulangkan.
While he was trying to make sense of what was happening, something deeply unsettling took place. A spirit said something to Dumas that he will remember for the rest of his life.
I jumped from the bed. I went back to the office. I finished up all the documents, immigration, all the checklist stuff that I have to do. The next morning after, I directly reported to the Deputy Chief of Mission, because at that time there is no ambassador in our embassy in Singapore. And I literally said to my DCM, stating like this, Pak, please Pak. The lady came to my room last night, and she asked to be sent back home to Indonesia right away. Please Pak, sign the document, because otherwise she might come again to my room this night.
File number 2. The strange case of the Victorian lady in The Hague. Despite lacking a sixth sense or the ability to see ghosts, the Singapore scare was not the only supernatural experience Dumas has had. He had another spooky run-in while assigned to the Indonesian embassy in The Hague. It was July 19, 2014.
I did experience some other time during my first assignment in Indonesian embassy in The Hague, I have experience seeing ghosts. It was somewhere around 2014 on July 19, 2014 to be exact, just right after the tragedy of MH17 Malaysian Airlines.
Dumas vividly remembered the occurrence. He was working to consolidate the data on the Indonesian victims of the Malaysia Airlines MH17 tragedy.
And at that time, I was doing my job desk, particularly to consolidate the data of victims of the crash of MH17. It was somewhere around 1 o'clock in the evening. I was trying to merge between the immigration data that I received from the immigration attaché and also the passenger list that I received from a colleague of mine from the Malaysian embassy. And I smell something weird. There was a scent of a rose, and to what I know, a smell of a rose inside the Indonesian embassy, particularly during the night, it was a sign of a ghost. And I start having a goosebump. And after that, right in front of my eyes, there was a lady with approximately somewhere around 160, 170 centimeters in height. And this lady was looking at me, and she passed away like looking for something. The room that I used to work in the Embassy of Indonesia in The Hague was being used for homicide site of the owner of the house.
Okay. So according to whispered stories that Dumas has heard during his time in the Netherlands, his room was previously the scene of a homicide sometime in the 18th or 19th century.
So this lady, apparently the lady think that her husband having an affair outside. She killed herself in the. It was a former bathroom actually changed into a office space. This lady hanged herself. Other story I heard, drowned herself in the bathtub, and then before she killed herself, she went downstairs to put her newborn baby in the summer house. At that time, there was a summer house next to the annex of the embassy building. Of course, the newborn baby passed away because she put the baby during winter time. So there is no heating unit at that time. It was somewhere around 1700 or 1800. And then the husband went back to the house, found the newborn baby passed away. He tried to find his wife. He found her already passed away. He went upstairs to the attic at the 3rd floor and he shot himself dead. So pretty much our embassy in The Hague is quite haunted, and though we have to keep that aside if we have an urgent assignment, and at the time I was finished off all the victims, Indonesian victims in relation to MH17.